Well, I'm here at the Glasgow Necropolis with horror author Tracy Fahey, and Tracy, it's not unusual to find you in a graveyard. What's your fascination with them?
Well, my grandfather was a cemetery keeper, so he used to keep a historic cemetery in Philipstown, County Louth, where I'm from. So as a child, as a reward for being good, I was allowed to play in the graveyard, and there were so many beautiful tombs. And then my family home is built in a graveyard, and when I lived in Dublin, to my joy and delight, when I rented a house, I found that the back garden was a tiny graveyard, tiny maritime graveyard, because the ship had washed ashore and they needed to bury the bodies quickly. So, yeah, I'm at home here. I think that they're really beautiful places, and especially when they have this kind of pattern of age like the Necropolis has. There's almost a disassociation of the immediacy of death and grief. They become aesthetic and beautiful objects, kind of laden with symbology, really interesting narratives. They kind of lose a little of their emotional impact, I think, as the centuries pass.
Where do you say your interest in graves and horror stories intersects?
Well, horror is a lot about death. Maybe not so much the physical act of dying, but the fears that we carry within us that are really planted with the seeds of our own mortality and our growing recognition of those, because after all, what's more scary than ourselves? Our own failing bodies, the inevitability of death. Those are good topics for a sunny morning.
The graveyard is often a setting for Gothic horror stories. You're something of an expert on the Gothic. What other elements does a story require to be considered Gothic?
Interestingly, I was having this conversation earlier in Glasgow. I think that it really depends if you're talking about classical Gothic, which is very much, the tropes of the villainous monk and the kind of evil convent and the Italian that travels, supernatural manifestations, deaths, premonitions, doom. Like early Gothic is so kitschy and camp almost, whereas now we associate the Gothic with the kind of elegance and understatement of Shirley Jackson. That sense of the in-between, the liminal, the unspoken, the unspeakable. So Gothic is many, many things. So it's often very difficult to pin down and define. I think now, though, it has acquired very much this kind of dual identity, if you like. So first of all, there's the kind of Halloween aesthetic of the Gothic. There's the kind of ghouls and ghosts and kind of all these trappings, the clanking chains, the kind of white-faced spectre. But then you also have narratives of loneliness, of souls that are adrift, of people who don't quite connect in this world around us. And for me, that's the truest sense of the Gothic, is that almost silent, understated, quiet fear that comes with a Gothic tale.
One of your story collections is called the Unheimlich Maneuver, which, as well as being difficult to spell, is a very distinctive title. Can you explain what that means?
First of all, I quite like bad puns. So everyone knows what the Heimlich Maneuver is. And the Heimlich Maneuver is an act that happens that restores harmony and restores well-being. So the Unheimlich Maneuver, what I was trying to get at with that was, first of all, it's a response to Freud's seminal 1919 essay, Das Unheimliche, the Uncanny. So I'm very fascinated with the notion of the uncanny, and the whole collection is essentially a response to that essay. It's exploring the different uncanny tropes that Freud considers. But also, I like the idea of the Unheimlich Maneuver as being that little twist when the world suddenly tilts on its axis, when you realise somebody that you've known and loved is foreign to you, when you feel threatened in your own home, when everything that's safe and normal and lovely in your life just slowly slips away. It's just that moment that I was trying to get, that psychological moment. So. yeah, it's a really long-winded explanation.
Can you give us an example of the kind of peril that a character in a Tracy Fahey story might face? It wouldn't, for example, be someone with a mask and a knife chasing them through a graveyard. That would be unlikely.
No, that wouldn't be my bag, really. But I think I can't remember the particular reviewer, but somebody said of me that the characters tend to be female, tend to feel a lot, you know, and feel almost overwhelmingly kind of overtaken by their lives and their surroundings, and I kind of concur with that. A lot of the action in my stories is internal, because the characters are often either approaching a moment of crisis or recovering from a moment of crisis. So, and quite generally, because I'm obsessed with the uncanny, and the uncanny manifests itself through doubles, half-seen, kind of half-glimpsed horrors that connected intimately with notions of déjà vu and kind of the return of the repressed. So the characters, and this is a hard one to pull off, I have to say, because I've been working on it for a long time. I always have to try to find line in my stories where either everything could be absolutely fine and all the drama is happening internally, or yes, everything's going to shit. The protagonist is right. But it's a difficult line to straddle, and that's why I'm very interested in kind of ambiguous spectral hauntings in particular, because product of the imagination, or
in all your times exploring Gothic and gloomy and foreboding places, have you ever seen anything that made you think twice about the world around you and whether it was all that you thought it was on the surface?
Well, you've got to remember, culturally, I'm Irish and Irish Catholic, and there's a very strong thread of mysticism that runs through my seams, because it's my upbringing. Ireland's still a very syncretic place, so Christianity in Ireland is kind of swaddled in all these layers of pagan ritual. So that was my upbringing. I grew up in the countryside. I heard stories of the Banshee, you know, kind of, which were as normal and everyday as stories of, you know, a new car that neighbours had bought. You know, it was treated with the same, pretty much the same concern, you know. So there's a weird matter of factness about the supernatural in Ireland. People who believe in Catholicism tend to believe mostly in miracles, intercessions, miraculous happenings. It's really not that far removed from the kind of folk tales that go back thousands of years. Now, I know this is a really long-winded answer. I'm kind of setting the scene to say that I've experienced some strange things, and even though I'm an avid fan of kind of crumbling castles, and I tend to kind of visit and photograph a lot of places with strange or sinister histories, often the most uncanny moments I've experienced have been in very mundane settings. Footsteps where there should be none, creaks in an empty house. Because I think in a way that's the most unsettling thing of all. Things that walk by daylight.
Tracy, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.